Bates Motel Season 5, Episode 5, Dreams Die First. This was one heck of an episode as far as reveals for everybody. I mean, it was just sad. It was like just a bunch of sad stuff was happening. I mean, Norman realizes a little bit, like I said in the last episode, or my last review, he's getting closer to the truth, and he ends up talking with the psychiatrist. Turns out that was just by accident. He didn't actually go to him. I was like, wow, he actually went to get help. Dude was walking across the street. I was like, oh, he didn't really go for help. He just talked to the guy. But it was interesting. He found out that he was just losing it more and more. He thought that he was his mother when he was at the bar, and he ends up sleeping with the guy, and it freaks him out a little because he's like, no, that was my mother, that wasn't me, and he's still not there 100%. And it was just interesting to watch him go through this crazy cycle in this episode where he doesn't see his mother at all, and it's like he's so close to the edge of realizing the truth behind her not really being there, and especially when he talks to the psychiatrist, because he was already there by the end of the last episode, so that's where he is through like this whole thing where he doesn't realize what's going on, and so he's right on the cusp of that, knowing that she's been gone this whole time. And when he talks to him, and the psychiatrist is like, do you remember, kind of what we went through, the triggers that helped you realize what was really going on? And that's when he really got it. He was like, yeah. And she's not there. He couldn't, like, bring himself to say that his mom was dead, like, when we got to the end of the episode, and he was, like, freaking out in the bathroom, and the guy was trying to help him. But it's closer and closer to that edge, and I just feel like there's going to be something that just snaps him back in the next episode, or there's going to be something that does for sure, and it's hard to say how that's going to work, especially now that Dylan's going to find out in the next episode what happened to Norma. So it's going to be really weird to see exactly how things play out with him getting closer and closer to that realization, and then trying to, just simply put, getting into just an argument with his brother. That could send him down a spiral, even though it doesn't have anything to do with him getting closer to the truth. It could just be something stressful, and then it's just like, screw it, I need my mom, and then poof, she shows up again, and it's crazy, it's just really crazy. So that was his thing, where he was getting closer and closer to that realization, and he ends up sleeping with the guy when he was at the bar before, which it was interesting that ended up happening, because when he was at the bar, it was just a normal night, and then in this episode, it ended up being like this whole thing where like everybody knew who he was, and I was like, that's weird. Like they didn't even like hint, they didn't even give us a clue that was going to be a thing. He was just talking to the dude, and I was curious how that was going to play out, but I just assumed he was talking as his mother. And it was interesting that because as soon as he called, he was like, was there a woman named Norma there? And the guy was like, yeah. I was like, oh, that's interesting, because obviously, it was Norman sitting at the bar. So how is this about to play out? And of course, when he goes to the bar and he doesn't realize everything that was happening, it was like, man, that's interesting. He went, like, this is probably like the furthest that he's ever gone. It was also interesting that he just I don't know, I guess in his mind, his mom she gets pissed and then sleeps with the dude. I don't know, because I'm like, why would his mom just be mad at him and then sleep with the guy? I was like, whatever. I guess I mean, he's crazy, so who knows what he thinks of his mom. But it was just, that was his crazy revelation. And then, of course, we have Emma and Dylan. I could not believe that came up in this episode after all this time. And Dylan mentions that he believes something bad may have actually happened to Emma's mother. And he's like, I freaked out. I left because I was worried that something may have actually happened. And, I was freaking out that he may have actually hurt your mother, and that's why I didn't want to tell you. And so that was just a crazy scene. And then she starts looking stuff up for her own mother, and that's how she finds out that Norma has actually been dead this whole time. And it was just like, wow, that's nuts. That's like just two revelations and one for them. And then we have, I don't really care about Sam, Davidson, but his wife, I don't know whose name I still can't really remember. I want to say it's Melinda. She gets the revelation that he's been cheating, because of course Norman's like, hey, you should probably talk with your husband and tell him you've been lonely. And so of course when she asks, why did you say I should talk with him, he tells her the truth. And of course he comes out as a bad guy too, because he kind of was. He didn't tell her when he knew. And she's like, you both knew, and I was kind of just the idiot sitting in the middle. So of course she's upset, and she knows that her husband has been cheating on her. And then we find out exactly how things have been playing out with this guy, because I assumed that he was just with this random woman. I didn't think it was something serious. I just thought this is like a woman that he just randomly sleeps with when he goes there. Especially considering they were in the motel. I didn't think it was serious. And then in this episode, we get to meet this woman who is played by Rihanna. And it was like, okay, this is actually serious. Like, this is just, this, it makes this guy even worse because I thought this was just some random woman. It was like a fling, or maybe she even knew. It was just like, it was just a thing. Because, like I said, the first time we saw them, they were doing it at the motel. And I was like, oh, well, that's not much of a relationship. That was just my first impression. So then we find out, like, no, they are in a full-on relationship. And she wants to be with this guy. She wants to marry him and everything. And it's like, wow, that really sucks. Now we see that he's got these two women caring for him, and he's just screwing them both over, like in full-on relationships too. He's screwing them both over. And so we get to see her side of the story, and how she's trying to kind of wait for this guy, and she kind of hates her job, and she can't really get a promotion because she doesn't have a college degree and stuff like that, which I thought was interesting because she mentioned the stuff like the notary thing. I'm not familiar with that type of job, but she has the notary thing. She's qualified. That's pretty much all it needs. But it was just like, she's having these crappy moments and just a really crappy day. And so she gets this suitcase full of money, and her idea is to take off. And I was just like, wow, that was a bad idea because they have her name. I mean, honestly, she went to get this dude. It's like, her message should have been like, hey, meet me in Mexico or Canada. I forgot what state they're in, so whichever's closest, meet me there because, like, she's screwed. She might be dead anyway. It probably doesn't matter. So she takes the money and she puts it in the bag. And it was funny when this happened. I was like, somebody did something illegal when they're in such a rush that they close the trunk on their jacket. I was like, that's like the instant sign of somebody just did something illegal and they're trying to take off. But she gets pulled over. No big deal. The guy opens it. He closes the trunk to put the jacket in because it's covering her license plate. And that's it. She's on her way, and she calls Sam, and that's when he officially gets busted because he's like, oh, bad signal inside the house, so I'm going to take this outside. And of course he's freaking out. It's like, oh crap, she's super close. And he makes up a pretty quick lie about he doesn't actually have his own place. He's with the guy, living with the guy. So she's like, well, just meet me at the motel, no big deal. And that's of course when he gets busted. Like, who is she? And then in the promo, she I forgot Rihanna's character's name, but she's busting out the windows in his car, and it's like, well, there you go. He's busted on both fronts, so I don't know how that's gonna play out. She has this money, so of course she's still going to get. I mean, there's gonna be attention on her, of course. So I don't know. It's really hard to say how that's gonna play out for her, if she'll live or if she'll die anyway. And then we have early on in the episode, we do have Norman going to meet the sheriff, and she kind of talks with him about him going to have seen Romero, and it's like, he didn't mention that before. And of course he plays the technical line, like, well, I contacted him, really. So she's getting a bit closer to the truth, but still, it's not too much there just yet for her to, like, really pin him with anything. And we don't see Romero at all in this episode, so he's just kind of in the wind on his way to the motel. But lots of revelations revealed in this episode. That certainly made it entertaining going into the next one, and I really can't wait to see how all this stuff plays out, because Norman has kind of ruined his relationship with this woman that he felt really close to, but, she of course is still going to be a character in the show, and now everything going on with Sam, I assume that he's going to come in and be super mad, at Norman. And then of course he can't really do that, because if he goes to the motel, he can't make a big scene because she's going to be there. That's probably how he's going to get busted. He's going to go and try to beat up Norman or something, and then they'll just be yelling at each other, and then she'll be like right behind him. It's like, oh, so I meant nothing, and that's how he gets busted on both sides. But there's about to be a lot of fighting, I imagine, in this next episode. Dylan is going to make his return, or at least he talks to him, so I assume if he doesn't end up going back to town in the next episode, then it'll be the one after, and that's when he goes to see Norman again. We'll see how that plays out when Romero finally does show up, and it's just getting crazier and crazier, and we don't really know how good Norman is really doing. Like, he's so close to the truth, but he can't bring himself to say it, and it's just hard. It's hard to say where he's going to end up in these next couple of episodes and what that's going to do to the lives of these other characters around him. But This one I certainly enjoyed, of course. Would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know how you guys think things will be playing out for the character of Sam. Like, what is he going to do now that he's busted? Because honestly, considering his character, he's a douchebag, I wouldn't be surprised if he went to Norman and threatened him, or like full on tried to beat him up. Like, you told her that I was cheating on her or whatever, and that somehow that makes Norman the worst person. That's how cheaters are. But I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like that's the first thing he's gonna do, and he's gonna be like, what are you talking about? And then his wife would just be like, Norman told me that he knew, so like I'm mad at him and I'm mad at you, of course, because he cheated on me. So I feel like that's how it's gonna play out. He's gonna be like, oh, Norman snitched on me. Now I got to go beat him up. So that's just where I think things are gonna go. He's gonna try to fight Norman, and I don't think he'll die in the next episode, but I feel like he's not long for this world. It's hard to say who's gonna live. Honestly, I thought the woman Melinda, if that's her name, I really can't remember. I thought she was gonna die, and now I'm like, I don't know. But now Rihanna's character is gonna be staying at the motel, so I'm really sure she's gonna die, and he's trying to fight Norman, so I kind of think he's gonna die too. So it's really hard to say what's about to happen. And then we have Romero coming in. Who knows how chaotic that might get? He just might shoot somebody and kill him by accident. So I feel like there are quite a few people that are so unsafe right now. It's really hard to tell, but I think the next episode is definitely going to be, Norman having to deal with this guy again. There's gonna be some conflict for sure. That's my theory, at least. Like I said, though, I would love to know yours, and of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.